Well, it's another Wednesday Walkie Talkie. Where does time go? As you can see, we must have had a bit of overnight rain. Interesting. Oh well. What is that sound? Where is that? Oh, it's a lamppost. I don't know what the hell that sound was then. Like this metal ticking sound. Now, normally those things up there just buzz. Anyway, quick update. Finally finished my Doom Eternal playthrough. All the DLC's done. The Ancient Gods finally put to bed. I've given my thoughts on that in the videos. I don't hate Doom Eternal itself. I'm not a fan of the DLC, mind. But yeah. I thought the DLC was pretty poor, to be honest. From an enjoyment factor for me personally, didn't like it. Didn't like it at all. So I'm convinced I'm going to end up sliding down this thing one of these days. But yeah, didn't do a lot for me. Thought it was pretty miserable at times. I just don't like how it plays. What's going on in there? Not much. Yeah, just not a fan of the way it plays, really. They, like I said in the video, it was either the penultimate video or it was the last video. In fact, I think I mentioned it in both. They just doubled down on the bad stuff for me. It was like they were trying to prove a point. You will like it, which never works for me, to be honest. If I don't like something, I don't like something, and making me play it more is just going to make me dislike it even more. So that's sort of where I am. Anyway, the subject of our video today is it's going to be sort of a follow-up to stuff I've already talked about, which is the whole issue of releasing unfinished games and how that has affected me as an individual playing games, and why I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts playing games these days, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not enjoying them as much as I used to. I'm kind of pushing away a little bit. I'm becoming a bit more reluctant to buy new releases. And it's simply because of the fact that I'm fed up of buying a new game and it being broken. Got no swans. Just got a big ass pigeon. No swans today. But yeah, I think the internet has ruined gaming for me personally. Now, don't get me wrong, it's done a lot of great things. but it's also done a lot of negative things from the video gaming perspective in terms of how we play games now, what type of games we get now. And I don't think it's for the better. I think if you're into your multiplayer stuff, great. Online multiplayer has never had the tools it's had, has never been as good as it has, and it is. You know, these days are a lot better than they were. Let's have a look over here. Oh, there they are. There we go. I found a swan hiding away from here. Oh, it's just chilled. I'm not. Go on, let's have a little walk over here. Bit of a change of scenery. But yeah. From a single player perspective, it's not been good at all. Where it shouldn't have made any difference. But it has, it's had quite a profound effect. If you look at the fact that a lot of games now, even in the single player mode, require you to have an online connection, it's frankly ridiculous. It's not very good. Why do I need to be online if I'm playing a single player game? That's the burning question, isn't it? But you are required. Let's go back. It's a bit wet and muddy underfoot. Not a fan of that. I'm just going to head back and go along the pathway I normally go along. Hopefully, if we can get a period of time without rain, I can go over that way a bit more. I just don't fancy getting literally bogged down. But yeah. And of course, the biggest thing that affects everyone is the habit these days of releasing unfinished games. With the hope that the developers will come along and fix the issues. And that's not even guaranteed. You look at the Oblivion remaster, that's pretty much been abandoned by Bethesda. It's there's no real attention to it now. There's still plenty of issues with the game, and that's never going to be addressed now. It still crashes. I've got it on the PS5 and I've got it on PC, and it crashes on both. And there's never going to be a fix, because if there was, we would have already had it. I think it's been nearly a year since the last update. So they've clearly abandoned that, aren't they? Going on to other things. But my main point does concern around when a new game comes out. How it's affected me now is I'm kind of reluctant to start playing it when it first comes out. It's not just about games needing game-breaking patches, but it's about games now being systematically changed from their release. there are some games that play considerably different from where how they played rather, when they were initially released. No Man's Sky is a great example, but there are others. And you get to the point where it's like, and I'm having this issue with Crimson Desert, because they have made quite a few changes to that already and are continuing to do so, plus updating the control system, which is one of the biggest gripes I have with the game. The controls on a controller, because I have it on the Series X, they're far too convoluted. And if you don't play the game for a few days, you're trying to remember what the controls are. You know, that's no fun, is it? So you end up becoming stuck really in this no man's land of wanting to play the game, but then thinking, if I battle through this game and then quit because I'm not enjoying it, and then they release a patch like 2 or 3 months down the line that fixes those problems, you're pretty much in a place where you have to start playing the game again. And if you're dozens of hours into the game already, that can be disheartening. And that's happened to me just too many times now. I said in an earlier video, I don't do early access anymore, because by the time the game was getting its full release, I was done with the game. You know, for better or for worse, I was done with the game. And I'd had enough. Le Mans Ultimate is a case in point. They keep doing updates to it, but they've not brought the proper single player championship in. And I don't want to, put more and more hours into the game and then have to start all over again, because the championship mode is released. We'll probably have to pay for that as well, because we've had to pay for everything else. And it's got to the point now, where with that game, I've probably paid more for that than I have any other AAA racing game. And I'm bored with it. Just doing one-off races. It still feels, because of that, it just still feels like a demo. So I've just had enough. As I say, that was one of the reasons I was done with early access, because you just end up being done with it before it's even released. And that's not fun. You know, I want to play Crimson Sky, but part of me just keeps saying hold out, because why wouldn't I want to play the game to the best of its, of its abilities, so to speak, the best of its showing. I don't want to be playing the game that could be a much better experience if you hang on. And this just means now that my desire to play the game when they come out, or desire to get games when they're released, has become fundamentally diminished. I'm not excited. Excitement's gone. Game announcement, there's no excitement there. That might be just a state of mind, but that's how I feel. I can't conceive of the same level of excitement. You know, when I would go to midnight launches years ago, I mean, obviously I was younger and age brings about a certain degree of cynicism and jadedness. But I want to be excited for a new game coming out. Even, you know, though I'm getting on a bit now. I still want to be excited. Still want to enjoy things. But I just feel it's become quite difficult. It's become more and more difficult, and it's because of this release now, fix later attitude that the industry has. You know, we'll throw the game out there and fix it when we see fit. And it's not on. And it seems especially, I mean, to some extent I can understand it a little bit more with indie games, but not with AAA games. I want to be excited for GTA 6. I'm just not, to be honest with you. There's just nothing. And it's because I know that the big problem I'm going to have, the game will come out, it'll have issues, it won't be finished. They'll either hold stuff back for DLC that should be with the game anyway, so you've got to pay more money, or there'll be gameplay issues that need fixing. And then it's back to the old, I'm going to hold off playing it so I get the intended experience. And the problem is, by the time that could have happened, if it does, it doesn't always happen, I've lost interest. That enthusiasm and excitement has gone. And I will have lost interest. And that's how it is. That's how I feel. And Crimson Desert was just the latest in a long line, but you know, one which sort of brought it home. It brought it home that this is just the new norm. But why have we accepted this? This should not be the norm. This is abnormal. There's no other industry I can think of where releasing something incomplete would be acceptable. Releasing something like, you know, I think other people have made this comparison. If they released a car, but the lights didn't work, and they were like, oh, well, we'll fix that later on, you know, or the radio didn't work, or your air conditioning didn't work, or your windows didn't wind down. If they did that, you'd be like, no, you take it back. If you bought a film, or you're watching a film, or you bought a film, and the ending was missing, or you know, you couldn't see the picture or whatever, you couldn't see the picture, or the soundtrack was missing, you know, there were parts of the film that were missing, you'd take it back. You'd complain, and people would go, yeah, that's normal, so you should. Why is it when people complain about games not being finished, do they get attacked by these weirdos who are defending the fact that a product has been released that's defective? The latest in a long line. You can't justify it. Years ago, I think game developers and studios held themselves to a higher standard, and that was brought about by the fact that you couldn't just release a patch and fix the game. A broken game was forever broken, and that's how it would be remembered. I've used this example before, but RoboCop on the Commodore 64, for me, I'll never remember that as a great game. I'll remember that as a broken game and wasted potential. Fortunately, I was able to play it on my friend's ZX Spectrum and was able to play through the game. But on the C64, you couldn't. It was broken. You had to cheat. Well, where's the fun in that? There was none. There was no sense of achievement. And beating a game gives you that endorphin rush. That's why you do it. Otherwise, I might as well just watch somebody else play it. I mean, I couldn't really do that back then because there was no YouTube, but you get my point. But these days, they wouldn't think twice about that, because they'll just go, well, we can fix it in a patch. That's how they force this always online connectivity requirement for consoles. They've just done it through the games now. Remember the whole issue, and they were like, oh, you don't need to be online and you can play games offline, which was an absolute joke because you needed online connectivity to patch the games. So, another example of being misled and lied to. And people just accepted it. All the sort of digging the heels in the ground that we did back in 2012, 2013, where we rejected the idea of always needing to be online. All that was done. We've done it anyway, and nobody said a bloody thing. They just accept this because they don't care, because they don't know any different. They just made it so. It was a waste of time. What was the point? The consumers back then forced Microsoft to drop that ridiculous plan they had for the Xbox One. And it's pretty much there now, because people have accepted it. Your games are worth nothing, because when they switch to even the single player games, they're worth nothing, because when they eventually shut the servers off and you buy, you've still got your console, but you've had to uninstall a game so you can play a new one, you've had it. You won't be able to play any of these games today because they'll be missing part of the game. That's the other thing they do. They hold back part of the game to be installed. So if you think in 20 years time, when you retire or whatever, you can kick back and play one of these old games. No, you're not. Not from this generation. Ironically enough, you will stand a better chance playing an original PlayStation game if you can get hold of a functioning PlayStation or PlayStation 2 console. That'll be the biggest challenge. So, but that's the thing. And again, you could just put the game in and play it in the past, and that was it. That's what you had. Nowadays, I'm starting to play a game, and I don't know if this is what it's going to be like in 2 months' time. They take content out of games now. Power Wash Simulator, if you haven't bought the DLC for that, there's 2 pieces of DLC that's going to go bye-byes. I think it's next month. They take things out of games, they tinker with things, they change the dynamic. They have full control over you playing games. Full control now. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it, because that control was given to them through apathy. People just couldn't be bothered. It's too much effort. Too many people shilling for major corporations, which is the most laughable thing of all. And like I say, that's why playing new games now for me, it's not a great experience. I'm just not as into it. Try to support this industry as much as I can, but I'm done. I'm not going to support something that is fundamentally wrong. I'm not going to support that. Hell no. The last game I bought was U-Boat. I got it, and I got World War II bunker simulator that came with it. And that'll probably be it now for quite some time. I was going through my Steam wish list and just, yeah, not really feeling it for a lot of these games. I mean, the other thing I do now is I wait for them to come on sale, whether it's on console or whether it's on PC. I just wait for them to come on sale. I'll tell you what, it's quite humid. I come out with layers because I thought it'd be cold, but coming round here near the water's edge, it's a bit humid. But there, that's where we're at now. Where I'm at anyway. Just don't feel it anymore. At least we're in. That seems to have gone quick, that walk. Maybe I was fueled by my rant. It is warm. No two ways about it. So, that's that. That is that. It's a shame how it's come to this, but that's just the way it is. Can't continue to support an industry that is not working and is broken and is not doing right by the gamer. Is not doing right by the consumer. I've said it before and I'll say it again, indie games offer the best. Yeah, they do. Oh, it's not you, it's your buddy over there. Indie games offer the best value, and at the moment the better games. The AAA for me, it's just, I wouldn't say it's irrevocably broken, things can always be fixed, but it's going to require a big cultural reset on behalf of these big companies. And because they're so vast and because there's so many people involved in the process, there's too many investors that think they know what they're talking about, and they don't. They absolutely don't. It's a ship that's that's built a lot of momentum going in a certain direction, and as a result of that, that's very difficult to change course. They're not nimble. Indie devs are nimble because of the size of what they are, and what they are, they can change a lot quicker. They can pivot a lot quicker. These major companies can't. And that's why I don't think much will change for a long time. If it does, they may hit the rocks. In fact, some will argue they already have. In which case, they're buggered. But if they haven't, they're certainly running out of time to course adjust. They have to do it now. I think that so many of them are waiting for GTA 6, but to see what happens with that. You can't do that. That's just one game. That's not a barometer. That's one game that has got a huge amount of expectation for it. You can't use that. You got to look at the whole picture, and the whole picture is bad. It's bleak. Anyway, enough of that. I'll see you next week, and yeah, thank you for watching.